Hi guys, my name is Erica. I'm a nurse at the Heber Valley Emergency Department, and I'm going to walk you through how to set up the Belmont Rapid Infuser. Supplies can be found in both trauma rooms, Trauma 1 and Trauma 2. They are in the cabinet labeled Belmont Supplies. I'm going to grab the 3-liter canister and the Belmont tubing, and that's everything we're going to need. If you are planning to rapidly infuse a patient with the Belmont, make sure you have a few liters of normal saline nearby. Do not grab the normal saline from the warmer. Get the room temperature normal saline because the Belmont will warm the fluid as it is infusing. If you try to infuse the pre-warmed fluid, the Belmont will trigger a temperature error. So make sure you use just the room temperature normal saline. The Belmont is very useful if you are trying to rapidly transfuse a patient. Our Belmont can rapidly transfuse up to 750 milliliters per minute. However, that is only if the patient has a large catheter. So if you take a look at this chart, this shows you the maximum achievable flow rate for each size catheter. So for example, if the patient has an 18 gauge catheter, the Belmont will infuse about 200 milliliters per minute of fluids and about 100 milliliter per minute of blood. So if the patient has a central line that is 12 gauge or larger, the Belmont will infuse up to 750 milliliters per minute of both fluids and blood. Okay, the first step you want to do is plug the Belmont in. The Belmont will work if it's not plugged in and had been pre-charged. However, it will only infuse 50 milliliters per minute and it will not warm the fluid. If you turn it around to the back, you can see the switch right here. You're going to switch it to on and you'll see the screen lighting up. Now I'm going to open the tube. And this big chamber right here is going to pop into this little holder. Once you have your chamber attached to this holding part right here, you're going to find this little plastic tab that has this blue arrow on it, and the blue arrow is showing you to slide it into this little notch right here. There's 2 blue lines right here, so the left and the right tubing is going to kind of follow those lines. And then you're going to get this cylinder, and there's a red arrow pointing up, so you know that is the top, and that's going to match up right here. Once you have that matched up, the red is going to follow the red line through. This little chamber is going to go right in there. Now you're going to see the 2 blue lines again, so this part of the tubing on the left is going to go on the left side, and then this part of the tubing on the right is going to go on the right side. So if you slide the tubing into this black nook right there, that'll hold the chamber in place. Now you can close the door once everything is matched up. Now we can prime our line. We're going to connect the saline to the single side of tubing. This Y side is for blood. And you can see the saline is starting to fill up the chamber. We're going to select prime on the screen right here, and that's going to allow us to prime the entire line from the saline to the bottom here where the tubing comes out of the device. I'm going to say prime. Now you can see the chamber filling up faster, and you can see the air bubbles, which is the device removing the air. So it's important to note that, like I said, the tubing is only primed from up here and through the device. If you look down here, none of this is primed yet. So it's very important that you do not connect the tubing to the patient yet. The next thing you're going to do is select patient line prime. So once you select that and hold it down, you can see the fluid coming. Now it's going to officially prime up to where you would connect it to the patient. So I'll say stop. And now we're going to connect it to the patient at this point. And then you can say infuse. Okay, once you have clicked infuse, a good starting point would be 500 milliliters per minute. You can increase or decrease the rate with these arrows right here. So this is telling you the volume that has been infused. This is telling you the actual rate. So say they were hooked up to a 20 gauge IV, it's not actually gonna go 500 milliliters per minute. This is telling you the temperature of the fluids. And this is saying that it's infusing. So the P is just telling you the pressure. If you anticipate needing more than or multiple liters of fluids and multiple bags of blood, rather than constantly switching out the bags, you can use this Belmont 3-liter reservoir that we have. So I'm going to show you how to connect that. So you'll remove it from the packaging and you'll see it has these two parts of tubing down here. And these are going to connect to the tubing right here. So I'm going to remove the chamber and I'm going to connect this canister instead. And then you can remove the chamber by popping this off like that and then untwisting. So we can get that out of here for now. Now the canister comes with the option to connect up to 5 bags at once so that you can kind of preload the 3-liter canister so you're not constantly switching the bags out. So pull the black lid off and then pull the black off there and then it just pops in. And you'll do the same thing for all 3. And then I'm going to flip this around. So now you can connect, pull the black off of here, and you can snap that into the tubing, and then you can unscrew this cap and screw it into the tubing here on this side. Okay, the device is beeping at us because it wants us to reprime the tubing. So I'm going to connect the fluids. Now the fluids are connected. I'm going to unclamp the tubing and I'm going to select reprime. So now you can see the chamber is starting to fill up with the fluids. Now it's a 3-liter chamber. We only have about a liter going, so it's really only going to go not far up, but you get the idea. If you had more fluids or more blood attached, it would fill up a little higher. So we've reprimed with the 3-liter reservoir rather than with that chamber that was part of the tubing that we had before. This was already good before we switched it to the reservoir. However, I'm going to take a look and make sure that there's no air bubbles and that this part of the tubing is still primed before connecting it to the patient. Now I see an air bubble here, so I'm gonna just select this bolus button and I'm gonna let it kind of prime itself out. Now the air bubble's gone, I'll just select stop. Now the tubing looks good, so we can connect it to the patient. At this point, the line is primed very nicely. You would connect your blood to this tubing and then you can start infusing. It's important to note also that you do not have to start with this chamber like we did. If you wanted to start with the reservoir, then you could do that. You would set up the tubing the exact same way. You would just detach the chamber from this part and you would connect it to the reservoir, and you would set it up the exact same way that I showed you when it was connected to just the chamber. I hope that explanation was sufficient. If you have any questions, you can ask Lindsay. She would be happy to walk you through the process. The training materials that we use today will be in a container in Lindsay's office. If you wanted to retrieve them and play around with it, it's good to practice so that you know how to kind of work out errors before you use it on a patient.